Right. Looks like we are ready to go here. It is June 26th. We're almost to the 4th of July. That's like 4th of July is like Christmas time for me. I love fireworks. So,
Me too, John.
Yeah, especially when you were the high school fireworks smuggler.
yeah. I have a long line of fireworks in my blood. So all good stuff. But anyway, no fireworks parties for us this year because our house is still torn apart, redoing the kitchen. So we were hoping to have it done, but it's going to have to be next year.
Also, a note too: the fireworks that were planned at Los Alamitos, the fireworks will go off, but the public festival and the displays and whatever are canceled. Base is under lockdown.
Oh yeah,
So
from military
anybody who's
base.
local who might be thinking of going to Los Al, like I was, heads up if you haven't got to notice that the base is in operations, so therefore it's closed to the public.
Yeah, things are heating up. They're getting a little hot out there. One thing I've noticed a lot of influx of videos and things coming out talking about mostly opportunity to serve people that are in transition. A lot of jobs are going away right now. There's a tremendous amount of influx in the employment market, which is going to cause a lot of people to want to open their own businesses or be their own remote workers, so to speak. Or, there's going to be a lot of people in uncharted territory. So if any of you are in the coaching markets or in the markets of supplying assistance and help to people that are trying to transition, this is going to be a very ripe time for you to take advantage of. If you've got stuff that will help them, this also, if you want to, you could actually promote our offer here as an affiliate and make money from them. Even without creating a business to help them, you could still help them by promoting this offer to them. So you've got a couple of different waves of these people. You've got the ones that are losing jobs. You've also got a young market. I saw some stats on this yesterday. There's a lot of younger people entering the job market that don't want jobs. It's like this is a different kind of time in history. They're entering the job market, but they don't want to work for somebody. And if you know any young folks, you probably have noticed there's a little bit of entitlement to them at this day and age. So the idea of having somebody tell them what to do and boss them around is not real appealing to them. They want to make a lot of money working from a beanbag chair playing video games. That's their idea of the ideal life. So when we talk about freedom formula, they're going to be a very different freedom formula. Theirs might be more based on true freedom than actual money, and but as we all know, money creates the true freedom that you want, so you can do whatever you want. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Interesting times ahead for sure. So anybody, let's kick off with anybody got anything you want me to cover or directions you would like me to go? Anybody struggling with something, trying to follow through the ACT program and stumbling on anything, big ideas, market segmentation, any of that good stuff? I know some of you are well beyond that, so I'm perfectly fine with those questions also. So anybody stuck? All right.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I got to get off my butt and get those things done we talked about on Thursday. That's all. I mean, last Tuesday. But I had my elder uncle passed, and we had 2 days of family celebration in his life. So now
Hmm.
I want to relate this to the group, and that was I started reflecting on a lot of opportunity that I missed not being in contact with him because he passed away with a $20 million estate. And I was invited to join him many, many, many years ago, and I, like a dummy, I didn't. But it made me reflect. You know how we do the end of year evaluation?
Yeah.
I did the same thing with my life this morning and saying, okay, now what I did wrong, but what can I do better going forward? And being with the family the last 2 days was definitely an eye opener and open heart and inspiration. And you came to mind, John, because of that evaluation was in the back of my head.
Yeah, that's really an important part. And I know like with bigger companies, if you look at the corporate world, they're doing these evaluations all the time. They're not waiting for the end of the year to do it. They're doing evaluations like employee evaluations, systems evaluations, department evaluations. They're evaluating everything constantly, and that's how they do that's their form of analytics. You know, when you get into the online space, that's where analytics comes into play. It's those evaluations. You're looking at the figures, you're making decisions on moving forward. Like if let's say you're running Facebook ads and you're running pay-per-click advertising and you're running SEO, those are your three traffic sources. If you blindly think about this, if you blindly spent money in those three buckets for a year without looking at them, that would be very foolish. You should be looking at those things not necessarily on a daily basis, but probably on a weekly basis. Because here's what can happen, and this can change at any time. Your Facebook ads might be just absolutely kicking ass. They might be profitable, like, you know, your conversion rates could be crazy off the hook. Let's say your pay per click is sucking eggs and you wind up pouring a bunch of money down SEO and you're not getting any results there. So somebody that was on top of their game, what they would do is they would move those budgets into the thing that was working and really push it. And almost all traffic sources have a curve. There's there's a curve at the bottom where you're not putting enough in to really evaluate it properly, and that will give you false data. And then there's the point where you start seeing results and you like them. They're good results. Maybe you fine tune them and make them a little bit better. But then there's this thing called scale. What you're supposed to do is once you figure out something that's making money, the idea is to scale it. You basically just increase. Like if you put in $1,000 into Facebook ads, and let's say you get even 1,000 back, let's say it's a break even, you should have a way to make more money than that first initial sale. That should just be your initial sale. So let's say you break even on the first month. Now you've acquired a bunch of new customers. We talk about lifetime value next. Lifetime value will tell you how much you can spend to acquire a customer. Let's say you put that 1,000 out the first month. You get 1,000 in new customers. And this is a really good deal. If you can acquire customers at a zero sum, that is a good deal. Most people will argue this with me and they'll say, well, I can't afford to do that. Well, you don't know the game. If you tell me you can't afford to acquire customers at a zero sum, you don't know the game because those customers have a lifetime value. It's not just what they're worth today, it's what they're worth tomorrow. It's like if you invest in a stock, let's say you put $1,000 into a stock and a month later it doesn't go up or down. It's just the same. And you say, I can't afford to do this, knowing in a year that stock's going to double. And you sell it out. you quit because you didn't see that initial return the first month, you missed out doubling your money on that stock. These customers are the same thing. They are the stock. You are investing in stock in your little company. If you tell me you can't afford to do that, you need to get comfortable with working for somebody because that's where you're going to wind up. If you are not spending money to acquire customers, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to scale. So back to the whole scaling thing. Once you get something that's working that you can palate and you can live with, and some people are willing even to go in the hole the first month to acquire the customer because they know how much they're worth. Like for me, if I acquire a customer at it costs me $100 to acquire a customer. I can look at my numbers. I know customers to me are worth thousands of dollars over the next several years because they're going to stick with me. I'm going to bring them offers, even if they're not mine. I might make affiliate money off them. Like a perfect example, let's say somebody comes into the ACT program and maybe I don't make any money from them because of that purchase, because it costs me that much to get them. And then I show them this little thing called Kartra. Kartra pays me a 40% affiliate commission forever. So let's say they get in at the base level and it's $100 a month. Now I'm making $40 a month forever, even if they stop my program. So how much is that customer worth to me? So 40 times 12, I think if my math's right, that's 480 bucks. So it costs me $100 to get the customer, and over the next year, I'm going to make $480 from them. I just 4.8 times my money, even though I made nothing on the first month. Is that a good deal? Would you invest in a stock if you knew it was going to 4.8 times your money in 12 months?
Yeah.
I think so. That's the business. The game of business is numbers. The game of business. And I freaking hate analytics. I love numbers. I hate analytics. And I have this mental block against analytics, and there's a reason for it. At somewhere in my past history, I convinced myself that that was work. Doing analytics was work, and I'm very anti-work. And I convinced myself it's easier for me to spend the time in analytics just making more money so it doesn't matter. And I proved that internally to myself over and over and over. So that's why I do the thing in the year. Me personally and myself, I look at the stuff once a year. That's not the right way to look at things. You should really have a tighter rein on your business. So I'm not encouraging you to do bad business practices. I'm totally transparent with you guys. I share what I do, why I do it, how I do it, and it's not necessarily right for everybody. But just so you can follow along with my madness and my craziness, so you know what and how and why. But what you guys should be doing is really taking this stuff into consideration when you figure out your own analytics. Like you're going to look at how much is a customer worth. And you have to not just focus on the first sale. You have to look at what can you make out of that relationship. The relationship changes radically when they go from a prospect to a customer. There's a huge difference. You could have 1 million prospects in your database and not have a single customer, and you're not going to make any money with that. The relationship, your odds of getting money out of those prospects is so low compared to once they change to a customer. Once they change to a customer, the relationship is completely different. The trust level is completely different. And the only thing that can screw that up is you. If you don't screw that up, you should be able to make a lot of money off of each customer. You're not going to make squat off your prospects unless you figure out how to convert them into customers. But once they become a customer, you need to go back and use the timeline exercise. The timeline exercise is the key to how much money you're going to make. You look at the timeline of that customer, they purchased with you and they're on the timeline at ground zero. It's today. The end of the timeline is what they want out of your relationship. Why did they become your customer? What did you promise them? What's the desired outcome from their purchase with you? And this is how you screw it up. You don't fulfill on that. Just don't give them what they came for and you will have fucked it up. Guaranteed. I would encourage you not to do that. Give them what you promised them. When they pay you, you need to honor that. Fulfill on your promises and you'll keep the relationship spectacular. So when they get to the desired outcome, you have delivered, you've fulfilled what you promised, they got their money's worth, they're happy, and now the game continues. And you should be playing this game long before that happens. You should know 10 steps ahead all the way down the line. When they get to the desired outcome, the timeline ends, but then it starts again. Nobody is happy with where they are. Once they get where they thought they wanted to be, they're going to want to go somewhere else next. This is a guaranteed factor in human nature, and it starts the day we pop out. The first day we pop out, this game starts. And I mean specifically you need stuff. When you come out of the womb, you need stuff. Like you need to be fed.
Thank you.
You need to be comforted. You need to be temperature controlled. You let a baby get uncomfortable and your life is going to be a living hell. Right? So you need to really control their environment. You need to make sure they're happy and healthy so you can have sanity. And the second you let that slip away, you're going to lose your sanity. So the point of this is that's the timeline. If that kid is hungry, the timeline is to be full, right? When the kid is full, the next timeline is he's going to want a nap, right? You don't give him that, he's going to get cranky, right? And you're back to a living hell. So these are all timelines, and my point is they start when you pop out of the womb, and they don't end until the families put you in a box. That's when your personal timeline ends. You're fulfilled. So how much money could be made between point A and point Z? A lot. There's a lot of money to be made. Each and every one of us throughout our lifetime is going to give away millions of dollars. It's going somewhere. Somebody's going to get it. That person could be you. You don't have to make all that stuff, but there's going to be money made in the middle, the sales commissions. As an affiliate, this is an absolute gold mine. Once you acquire a customer, their level of trust in you elevates dramatically. They don't want to go back to the drawing board, back into that area of they don't know who to trust. They have no guiding light. You are their guiding light now. So if you've done a good job, they paid you, you made them happy, you got them what they wanted, who do you think they would trust to take advice from for what to purchase next? It's you. That's free money. You don't have to build another thing. If you're, I am not going to say this out loud, so I'll whisper it. You don't have to sell another thing. You can just keep selling to this person. You know, like I said, I didn't say that out loud. I whispered it. Don't do that. Keep selling to people. Keep acquiring customers because every one of them has a lifetime value. You're going to make a fortune off of every customer you bring in, as long as you don't screw up the relationship. As long as you keep providing value and making their life better and easier and faster, they're going to bond to you. They're going to trust you. You can become the person they ask first. If they need something, you want them to ask you first. And you always want to have an answer. You say, "Oh yeah, I got a guy for that." You make the connection, you make money. You need to start thinking about these connections as money sources. They're revenue channels for you. I know a lot of people go through life and they just make all kinds of referrals. They just want that feel good. They want to be like, they want to be the center of attraction. They want the attention, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. We all need attention. But you can make money on those referrals. That's like you're just throwing money down the toilet if you're not doing that. You have relationships with other people that are not your customers, but they're providers of products and services. They will absolutely love you if you bring them customers. Most of them will pay you for that. It's called sales commissions, affiliate commissions, whatever you want to call it. There's always a cost associated to sales. If you look at any business model, there'll be a category in their spreadsheet for sales costs. What's the cost of making a sale? Right? You want to fit into that column. That money is going out. You want to be there with your bag to scoop it up. How much do you want? Like, I always did this thing where I would call a meeting for my affiliates and my salespeople. And I would say, I have a new business goal starting today. It's a 12-month goal. My goal is to give away $1 million. And you can have all of it you want. How much would you like? And they'll all say, "Well, I want it all." And I say, "No problem. You just have to make all the sales. Here's how many sales that needs to take place for me to give away $1 million. How much do you want?" I would love to give any one of you $1 million, and I'd do it right now for those sales. I'd do it all day long and twice on Sunday because I know what those are worth. So everyone in business that's not thinking that way is a fool. And they're probably a small business, and they'll probably remain a small business that struggles. Most small businesses struggle. They're small because they don't think properly. They have an employee mentality, not an entrepreneurial mentality. Now, in entrepreneurs, let me like say something here that I don't say very often, if at all. There's a huge difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman. An entrepreneur is a great person to have. They're very creative. They will come up with all the products. They will think of all the ideas. They're very ingenuitive and creative. It's a very key part of a business, creating products. That's an entrepreneur. They're always thinking. They're always thinking, what can I make? How could I solve a problem? All of that. Business people are more bean counters. They're looking at things from a business perspective, and that is a skill set. That's a skill set that's very needed in business. You have to understand the math, you have to understand the numbers. A lot of times you'll talk to an entrepreneur and you'll understand they're not thinking like that. That makes their skin crawl. They're not numbers people. They're creatives and they're very valuable. They create the products that run the world. But then you've got to have the business part, the sales part, the number guy, the bean counter that will drive the business. If you don't have the business, like I have known a lot of very, very talented entrepreneurs that made stuff that should have made them millions of dollars, but they die broke because they don't have the business side. They don't have the bean counter side. They don't know how to sell their products, nor do they want to. They would rather create another one, and then create another one, and then create another one, and never sell any of them. So you got to have both. If you're an entrepreneur and that whole thing of selling stuff just makes your skin crawl, you better find somebody that can sell your stuff. Maybe you've got that talent they don't have. And, I personally don't really like partnerships, but in some cases, they're necessary to make things happen. You don't ever see a big business that's just a one-man show, right? It takes multiple personalities. It takes multiple talents, multiple skill sets to grow a big business. And if you want to remain in control, don't take on partners, but take on people to do those things that you need and just pay them for it. Remain in control. I know this is one thing. Entrepreneurs, in my experience, have egos that will not fit in a 10-gallon hat. They just flat won't fit. And the idea of a partner and losing control isn't very appealing. They want control. They want to control their product. They're very emotionally attached. So if that's the case, bring in salespeople. If you're going to bring in salespeople, you need to understand you can't you can't pay for salespeople unless you're really watching them, unless they're driven by sales. And what I mean by that, if you put a salesperson on salary, they're probably going to break you because they have no incentive to make a sale. If you put them on straight commission, they might not be able to get off the ground fast enough to stay interested and you might lose them. So there's a kind of a delicate balance there. Sometimes you have to pay them a base plus commission. You pay them the base so they can maybe just squeak by, but not enough that they're comfortable. So they have to grind. They've got to grind. And the only way they're going to get successful is if they grind. And you want them to grind. And once they grind and they get up, here's a big mistake. Here's a huge mistake is cutting back on a sales commission for a good salesperson. If don't ever think you're paying them too much. You cannot pay them too much. Like all of a sudden, let's say you're paying them a $1,000 base and you're giving them 10% commission or 20%, whatever the number is. And All of a sudden they start making 10 grand a month. And you're like, holy shit, I can't afford to pay $10,000 a month. Bullshit. They're making you money. Pay them 20 grand a month. If they double the sales, you should have no problem doubling their money, right? The second, the absolute second you start cutting into their margin, you're going to lose them. For one, they're not going to like you. They're not going to trust you, and they're going to be looking for other opportunities. That second you do it, I guarantee it. It might not happen today, might not happen tomorrow, but eventually they're going to go. And you know what they're going to take with them? All of their goodwill that they brought to you. They're going to take it, and you're going to be fucked. For lack of a better word, that's what you're going to get yourself. So just, I am just sharing a lifetime of experience here with you. The value is in acquiring customers. If that's not your thing, pay for it. Pay to have it done. It needs to be done. It's the most important thing you're ever going to do in your business is acquire customers. The second most important thing you're going to do is keep them happy. The third most important thing that you're going to do is figure out how to increase your lifetime value with them, right? And it should go in that order. Job one is get them. Job two is keep them happy. Job three is keep them happy forever. And make money every step of the way. If you do that over an extended period of time, you will become indestructible. You will have an effortless life because at some point you'll have so many people in your pipeline that you're making money from, nothing will matter. That's why I only care once a year about looking at analytics. That it doesn't matter to me. I've done that work over my entire life. So I'm at a position where it'd be very hard for you to jump in and follow. There's a lot of work for you to get to where I am, but I'm giving you the bridges and the roadmaps how to get there. And I'm very quick to say I'm lazy and I don't work hard, but that wasn't the case in the beginning. I worked my ass off to get where I am, and I learned a lot of lessons. And I'm sharing that stuff with you to help hopefully eliminate some of the pain. So I got a lot of battle scars getting where I am. And if I can prevent, any of those from you, I'm happy to do it. So anyway, I feel like I'm ranting and raving again and carrying on, and I don't know if you guys even care.
Yeah.
So,
Didn't
Pam,
you say, I don't know, a week or two ago, you said something about training for AIO?
yes,
Was that here or somewhere else?
that is going to be in all of the people that got the AIO program. That is going to be announced. In fact, I'm going to send an email out today for you.
Cool. Thank you.
And I'm looking at my schedule. I'm going to do the first training next week. I was going to try and do it Friday, and I actually still might, but that's tomorrow. Um, I'm trying to figure out my schedule. If I can pull it off, I will do it tomorrow. Maybe I'll do the intro tomorrow, maybe an hour of training tomorrow, just to kind of lay the groundwork. And then next week we'll dig into it because what I want to do, I want to go through each tool. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of stuff to unpack in AIO. And a good portion of it is SEO. So as you're learning, if you're starting into this from scratch and you're learning AIO, which is AI optimization, and what that means for anybody that doesn't know is it's optimizing your web presence so AI will send you customers. This is a perfect topic actually for what we're talking about because you need to acquire customers. How would you like AI to send you customers?
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. The more the better. And I'm not going to say it's free. There's like a lot of people thought SEO was free. SEO is anything but free. If you don't value your time, then yeah, maybe it's free. But if you don't value your time, you're not a business owner. You might be more on the entrepreneur side. And we need to make money. So your time is very valuable. AIO is just like SEO in the fact that it's going to take time to do it. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. The similarity between SEO and AIO is uncanny. It's almost a direct replica, just different variations. And it was interesting because Chris, who's working on our Rainmaker program, that's the program that automates the signals to train the AI for who to recommend. He called me up and he says, "Hey," he goes, I don't think we're going to be able to do this." And I said, "Why?" And he's been in SEO. Keep in mind, he's been in SEO as long as I have. And he comes up with this, and I'm like, "Why? What's the problem? What did you find? What did you run into?" And he said, "I've been reading all these different sources saying that AI has mechanisms in place so it can't be manipulated." And I said, "Oh my God, are you serious right now? You can't be serious. Knowing what you know about SEO," I said, "from day one, SEO was telling you the same thing, and it was total bullshit." It's like they have a press media machine to scare people from trying to manipulate their results. I said, this is no different. In fact, Google, anybody that is familiar with Google and followed kind of the history of Google, they hired a person and his name was Matt Cutts. And the whole SEO world followed Matt Cutts, and he led them all off a cliff to the point where he could no longer be trusted, and his credibility just went to absolute shit, and they had to fire him. He was the fall guy, but he was a company employee of Google that was paid to teach you SEO. Think about that. He is there telling you how to do SEO on Google when in their terms of service, they say explicitly, if you do anything to manipulate our results, we will ban you. Right? Those two things are in direct conflict. So here you've got a guy instructing you on how to get banned and how to keep your site safe. And I guarantee you, everything, every word I heard ever come out of his mouth was exactly polar opposite. If he told you to do something, I would say, don't. If he told you not to do something, I'd say go full bore. And I was absolutely right on every instance. He was a PR machine to lead you astray, set you up to get targeted and banned because they wanted so much fear in the market that they would kill the whole SEO industry. That was their goal. They were unsuccessful, so they had to keep getting creative and creative and creative. Uh, to the point in 2006, they created a thing called RankBrain. And RankBrain was a new algorithm and it was the first algorithm that didn't have an animal name to it, by the way, which alluded me to the fact that this is different, and it was. They had all these animal names like the panda update and the gorilla update and you name it. They had all these things, but they were all named after animals. The penguin, The penguin was like a chainsaw massacre. This was like a chainsaw massacre came to town. But then rank brain, I'm like, oh, that's a whole new animal there. That doesn't fall in the animal kingdom. And it was very different. It was their first attempt at AI. And you're talking about 2006. They were collecting user data to understand how people interact with your website, and that became a new ranking factor. And if you think about it, that's the only ranking factor that's impossible for you to game as a business owner. And that's where we created the original Rainmaker software to game that system. That's the only SEO software I know of that is still working today because it's absolute polar opposite to everything everybody thought, and it works. So here, for this guy that knows all of this, that was side by side with me in the trenches all of those years, to come back and tell me, oh, I'm reading stuff that says that AI can't be manipulated. I'm like, are you a fucking idiot? Did you just like have long-term memory loss? Did you learn nothing from the past? So he's like, oh my God. He goes, you're right. So, okay, I'll forget that. I'll go back to the drawing board. So we are actively working on that last piece because with SEO, you always SEO from the beginning was based on two factors, two main factors that had a lot of variance to them, a lot of facets. The one was the code on your actual site. Like, is your site properly coded? Can the search engine read it? Can the search engine understand it? Or are you junking it up with a bunch of garbage? Like if you have content the search engine has to understand, and that content is, let's say, 400 lines of human readable text. So you have 400 lines of human readable text, and you wrap it in 100,000 lines of code. The search engine has to dig and dig and dig to figure out and throw a bunch of garbage out to try and figure it out. If you clean that code up, like one of the things that we used to do, we were very successful at, is take all the code from the style of the website. There's hundreds, if not thousands of lines of code to get your website to look pretty. And if you wrap your content inside of all that gobbledygook, the search engine is just going to throw up. It's going to consume all that information. It's just going to go, oh, this, the amount of relevance in the stuff that you say you're relevant for is minuscule compared to this big block of shit you just made me read. So we would take all of that and put it into a single file and externally reference it with one line of code. And that actually was the big thing that swayed people to start using CSS. You could put all the CSS, which is cascading style sheets. That's what CSS stands for. They would put all that in one file. And then on the code on the website, it would say style equals and then point them to that link so it could get the style over there. So the browser doesn't mind reading the style. The browser loves the style because that's what it presents onto the screen. The search engine couldn't give a shit about your style. It wants your content. So let's not make it chew through the style to try and understand the content. So that's an example of on-page optimization. It's optimizing the code of your website so the search engine likes it, understands it, values it, and wants to show it off. That's what will put you at the top. So that is one category of factors, is on-page optimization. Like I said, it's got a shitload of variance. At the time when I was documenting this and training on it, there was 64 pieces to that puzzle. I just shared one with you. There's 64 things that you could optimize about that code. And that's just one. So you can see it's a big animal. It's a lot of work to get it right. The second piece is off-page optimization. And this is how the rest of the world feels about your site. And the way that you optimize for that is inbound links and citations. And a link is like somebody on another site is talking about you, and they put a link to send their customers over for more information to your website. When people do that, the search engine sees that and it says, this site must be important because all these people are sending their customers to it. So it creates FOMO. They don't want to miss out. If all those people are sending traffic to this source, they don't want to be the only one that doesn't. So that's a factor. And it's almost like a popularity contest. Whoever has the most incoming link juice is going to win that factor. That's link building, off-page optimization. The citation part of it is a reference of the name of your company. And in conjunction, a lot of times with the physical address. And the more instances the search engines see across the entire internet of people referencing your name and email or your name and physical address, the more it trusts it. It trusts it to be true because it's basing it on social proof. It works a lot just like we do. When it hears something over and over and over, it tends to believe it. So you can screw that up by posting your name and address in different ways. Like, for instance, if you're on an avenue, you could abbreviate that AVE. You could abbreviate that AVE period. You could spell it out avenue. That's 3 variations that's going to confuse and damage your trust. And that's just a street type abbreviation. So whatever you do, do it the same across the board. And here's a little trick. If you're not sure what's the right one, people a lot of times would go to the post office. They would go to the postal records and they would copy down what the post office said was their correct address. And I would say, why would you do that? Why would you care what the post office says? Because they're not the one ranking you. Why don't you go to Google and see how Google has listed you? Because when you create a Google business listing, you put in your address, and guess what they do? They correct it. They auto-correct it to what they believe it should be. That's your source. That's where you want to figure out what your address actually is. And then once you've got it, blast that all over the frickin' internet. Exactly verbatim. Don't change it. Don't try and be cute. Don't try and be helpful and shorten it. Blast it verbatim. Make sure that if somebody copies your address and posts it, it's right. If you put it out wrong, people will copy it and they'll use it, they'll paste it, they'll post it, whatever, and you're just spreading distrust throughout the engines. So that's some stuff. I have a very deep knowledge of this game. You probably get that. But all of this transitions into AIO. So I'm going to be able to give you guys a lifetime of knowledge of how to optimize for AI engines because it's all the same. They put a new face on it. but it's the same dragon behind the curtain. And that dragon can be your friend and protect you and be a lifelong partner, or it can breathe fire and burn you to a crisp. So one of the things I used to tell people when they would get like pompous about the SEO world and say, "Oh, I can do anything I want." I'm like, that's likened to standing in front of that dragon and throwing rocks at him. You know, he's gonna light that fire up out of his mouth and cook you. So don't do stupid shit thinking you're indestructible because you're just a flea on the dog. So Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, John, great session today. I got to hop off here in a couple minutes for a 3 o'clock. What what time is the training you mentioned tomorrow? The
Uh,
AI SEO, or
I
is that
I'm gonna have to figure out what time slot I can move around for that.
sure?
Is there anything best for you? I'll give you first shot at it.
Um, well, I mean, I'm 3 hours ahead of you, so I mean, anytime, uh, say till 1 o'clock Eastern, which would be what 10 a.m. your time, or 11
Okay.
a.m. your time, any time in the morning your time.
Okay. All right. Well, I will I will put a priority to that.
Awesome. And will you be sending an email? Because I'm
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
as soon as we get off, I'm gonna look and see what I can move around. I got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow, but
Sure.
I'll move around a section in the morning for you. How's that?
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. You're the man.
All right. It's gonna
Okay.
be it's gonna be fun. I really have not taught SEO since before the pandemic.
Sure. Wow.
I used to do a thing called SEO Reboot, and I don't remember what year I started doing that, but I started that once a year. I would do SEO Reboot, and the idea of that was on a reboot, you shut the computer down and you start fresh. So
Sure.
I tell everybody, we're going to throw everything we thought we knew about SEO out the window and we're going to start from scratch. And every year I would do that. And I had a list, I had a pretty good sized list of SEO people, and I would put that out. And I never did it in a room with more than 100 people. I never wanted the big soiree and I just didn't want to go to that extent and work that hard, honestly. So I would limit it to 100 people. There was local hotels that would take 100 people, no problem. And they would actually give me the room for free as long as we did the lunch there.
Sure.
So I would always tell everybody, hey, you got to buy lunch, at the room. That's part of the deal. And I
Gotcha.
got the room for free. So I literally had a place to give 100-person event for free.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I don't think there was ever a year when I didn't sell that thing out. And it amazed me that people would come from all over the world. I had
Wow.
people come from Germany and New Zealand and,
No kidding.
places I'd never even heard of. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it always really kind of blew my mind how much reach I had with that knowledge that I had for that. So
Terrific.
it's really cool. But like I said, I haven't done that in ages, so it's gonna be fun to even like dig up the past, all the things. There's stuff that I know I have forgotten that is going to get uncovered, and we're gonna be bringing up some soil that hasn't seen the light of day in a long time.
Beautiful. Looking forward to it.
So, all right. Well, anything else? I know I probably dug down a whole different rabbit hole there with the SEO conversation.
No, very, very good. Your last two or three sessions have been incredible. Lot
Yeah.
of good takeaways. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good for everybody, including me, if you guys ask questions and tell me what you want to know, because there's so much stuff that I've got in my head that I would not even think to talk about unless you ask. But it's
Okay.
so don't ever be afraid to ask me about something. I've had a lot of experience with a lot of different things because I've literally worked in so many industries doing what I've done over my life that there's very few things I'm not familiar with, to a point. So,
That's good. I'll take you up on that and write a bunch of questions that I've been meaning to ask.
yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely.
thank
I'm happy to do that. I would much rather answer questions for you guys and address what's important to you than me just feeling like I'm rambling. Yeah.
No, you're not rambling. I mean, even stuff that I know, you there might be refreshers or reinforcing things and
Yeah.
I'm always learning.
Yeah. There's a lot of things too, like you might know, but you might not know why.
True,
And
true.
I'm all about the why. I was very inquisitive since I was a kid. I can't just take something at face value. I got to know why.
Sure, sure. Good
And
point.
yeah, and usually the why really, if you have the why behind stuff, you have a different knowledge base. You have a competitive edge over those that don't know the why. They're just doing things. The problem with just doing things is when something changes, you don't know where you're at. You're just lost.
Yeah,
If you know the why, when something changes, you can see why it changed and you
sure.
know what to do about it. So for me that I don't want to go through the life in the dark. That I'm fairly fearless, but that's one of the things that I would be terrified of is just to go through life in the dark.
Yeah. Amen.
Because that would make me a victim of circumstance, which that is the only thing I would be fearful of in my world is
Sure.
so.
All righty. Thanks, John.
All right, you got it. So
Always brilliant, though, let me tell you, even if I know nothing about it. It's, wow. Thank you very much.
yeah, absolutely. It's funny, the last SEO reboot that I did, I came up with an acronym for it of the way things had changed with, Google looking at what the site is and how people interact with it. And that was one of the things that led me to create the ACT program. I mean, I had other reasons to create it in a group that I created it for, but that was the first time that I saw the correlation. I saw the correlation between SEO and the actual marketing aspect of things. And that's when I realized how much I had learned from my past working with all those ad agencies. But it was the acronym was RCT. And that's what I taught in the last reboot that I did was RCT. And it was research, creation, traffic. And when I started to form the ACT program, one of the things is creating an acronym that is meaningful. And RCT is like, the hell is that? So I thought, well, ACT is action, and I've got the CT. How can I use an A in there? And then I thought, analysis. So it was originally research creation and traffic is how I taught the SEO in the final reboot that I did. And then ACT became analysis creation and traffic. And I got to tell you, if you follow the ACT program and you create your marketing materials and you create your website in accordance with ACT, you will be the best SEO'd website for content that ever was. So that again is why the ACT program is important. If you don't know what your people want and you don't create content that they want, as soon as they hit your website, they're not going to stick. They're going to bounce, and that's a bad signal for SEO. So in a nutshell, that's why ACT is important to SEO. It's where it came from. It was its origin came from SEO. Was how do we create a website that Google likes because the customers like it, is speaking their language. And the only way you can do that is to do the analysis or the research, figure them out, and then create the messaging around them so they feel comfortable with it. So it all dovetails in. It's all very, very important. And that's why I don't get why some people just will not give it the attention that it's due. It's like, do you not want Google to recognize your site? Do you not want them to send you traffic? Do you not care about your customers? Do you want to piss them off? Do you want them to just come, say, yeah, it's not the guy for me or not the gal for me and leave? If that's what you want, then just ignore the ACT program altogether. It's a perfect recipe. So, all right, we'll see you, Pam. All right, anything else before we wrap up? I know I've been trying to keep these calls to like an hour. We were going 2 hours, and that was too much for most people, but so we'll try and make them more action packed and give you more value for your time. But anything else, or did I knock everybody's socks off again? Gina's like, yep, my socks are gone. I'm bare.
I actually am not wearing socks. You're right.
All right. Well, you wouldn't have had a chance of keeping them on anyway.
We know John isn't wearing socks.
Yeah, that's a good bet. That's an easy bet for sure.
John, let me ask you one question because on the website design side, as a lot of your main web page, are you using Kartra as the builder, or are you using Beaver Builder on your Internet Dominator site?
So we use Beaver Builder inside of WordPress for almost all the website stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I use Kartra for is I use Kartra for like opt-in boxes, calendar widgets, things that get embedded into the website. But the thing about Kartra, the pages in Kartra, and any CRM for that matter, the CRMs, Kartra, Go High Level, whatever you're using, they're all dynamic. They're all dynamically generated, and they're referencing other things to piece them together. So their load speed is not as fast as what a WordPress page is. If you're
I knew someone who was actually they were embedding the Kartra pages into a WordPress plugin to make it appear as a page. And I didn't know if you were doing that as well.
No, I have done that, but I try not to, but just because of the load speed of the Kartra pages.
Hmm.
You know, if you got somebody clicking on a checkout and they're waiting for the order page to come up, that's acceptable. But when you're moving in a website from page to page, you got to have really good speed on that stuff. So I try not to load it up, even like on the ADA plugins and any kind of external references. There's ways to put that in the code to tell it to load this last.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice like my Internet Dominator page loads first and then the widgets start popping in. Some pages, the page will be like trying to load and it's not coming in and it's waiting for all this other stuff to load.
Mm-hmm.
And people just, they're really, really time sensitive these days.
Well, the one thing I just did on your site you were talking there was Internet Dominators, and then I go client login. I want to log into memberships, and that takes me to like a portal page. Is that portal page on Internet Dominators, or is that a Cartridge page?
I believe that is an Internet Dominator page because I have more than just Kartra logins. I've got
Well,
log.
on that one there, so I'm looking at it, and the logins. It's a member portal type thing, and I know that Kartra has that because I've used that myself.
Yeah,
Is it has Axe System, Quantum,
it's
Acquisition Air, Rainmaker,
it's
Crypto Mastermind, and
actually
Axe.
it's actually easy on my site to tell if it's a Kartra page or not
Yeah,
because at the in the URL bar it'll start with Dominators instead of Internet Dominators.
Dominators is a Kartra page.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so
my
this is a Kartra
subdomain.
page. Now I know.
Yeah, that's my subdomain where I load all my Kartra pages. It starts with Dominators dot Internet Dominators.
Okay,
So if it's a flat out internetdominators.com, then it's a WordPress page.
okay.
So
Learning new stuff. That's what I'm learning.
they're easy to tell.
Hmm.
It's always easy to tell because if you're going between two sites on anybody's site, their Kartra pages will be on a subdomain.
Okay. And I wanted to, if I get a private call with you on a email record situation I'm having with one client that you may be able to help me with.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just shoot me an email what's going on and I can
Okay.
probably answer it pretty quick.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else got anything before we wrap up? All right. I think we're all good.
Thank you, John.
All right, guys, it's great to see everybody again. We'll be back
Thank you, John.
be back next week, regular time, and until then, have a great week and I guess we'll see you one more time before the 4th of July.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll see you on the 3rd of July.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
All right, guys, have a great week and we'll see you on the 3rd of July.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.